Incredibly, Sony owns the film rights to more than 900 Marvel Comics characters, a whole laundry list of Spider-Man properties that the studio plans to spin off into their own cinematic universe. Here's the story behind every movie planned for Sony's Spiderverse. The first entry in Sony's elaborate plan for an interconnected world of Spider-Man-based films was 2018 blockbuster Venom. Critics were split on the quality of this fairly odd film, which often played like a dark, mismatched buddy comedy in which both roles were played by the same guy at the same time. More important to Sony, however, is the fact that Venom grossed $850 million at the worldwide box office.
Well, you know, I aim to please.
Filmgoers clearly have an appetite for Venom, so naturally the character will return in Venom 2. And that might not be the end of it either. Star Tom Hardy mentioned in 2018 that he's contracted for a whole trilogy of Venom movies. Meanwhile, Venom screenwriter Jeff Pinkner confirmed to Discussing Film in December that he was already at work on the second installment, and in August 2019, Andy Serkis signed up to direct. As for a release date, Venom 2 is highly likely to be the mysterious, untitled Marvel sequel that Sony has penciled in for October 2020, exactly 2 years after the debut of the first film. While working to cure himself of a deadly blood disorder, scientist Michael Morbius manages to accidentally science himself into becoming a vampire. Using his scientific expertise and his newly acquired array of supernatural powers, the character quickly found some success as a tortured anti-hero, fighting his lust for blood while bringing vampiric justice to the night. First announced in 2017, production on Morbius began in February 2019. Director Daniel Espinosa will direct from a script by Matt Sazama and Burke Sharpless, the creative minds behind Netflix's recent Lost in Space reboot and 2014's Dracula Untold. Oscar winner Jared Leto stars as the bloodthirsty protagonist, while Matt Smith co-stars as his friend and fellow vampire Loxias Crone. Morbius hits movie theaters on July 31st, 2020. Felicia Hardy, also known as the Black Cat, has been a recurring foe and romantic interest for Peter Parker ever since her first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man issue 194. A notorious cat burglar, Black Cat has the power to manipulate the powers of probability and luck. She made a brief out-of-costume appearance in Amazing Spider-Man 2, and hasn't yet been suited up on the big screen. Initially, Sony announced that Black Cat will be getting a team-up movie with fellow occasional Spider-Man ally Silver Sable, tentatively titled Silver and Black and set to be directed by Gina Prince Bythewood. Sony pulled the project from its release calendar in 2018, in favor of solo movies for the two heroes. According to Variety, Prince Bythewood will likely no longer direct, but will stay on as a producer for both individual movies. As for her replacement, all that's been reported is that Sony really wants to go for a female director. The other half of the cancelled Silver and Black project, Silver Sable, is also headed to the movies with her own announced solo film. When she first showed up in Amazing Spider-Man issue 265, Silver Sable appeared about as 80s as you could get without actually starting a glam pop band. She's an assassin and mercenary from Eastern Europe who wields guns, knives, and various accoutrements with deadly accuracy. Like many characters in the Spider-Man mythos, she also changes allegiances pretty frequently, acting as both friend and foe to the friendly neighborhood wall crawler. This is another project with few details to report at the moment, as there have been real hints to anyone who might be involved, apart from Gina Prince Bythewood's position as producer. Kraven the Hunter first popped up in Amazing Spider-Man issue 15 all the way back in 1964. In fact, he goes back so far that he was even a member of the original Sinister Six, making him the oldest Marvel character currently projected to get his own Spider-Verse movie. A Russian expat with a unique flair for clothes made out of lion faces, Kraven is a big game hunter obsessed with proving that he can kill anything, and in particular Spider-Man.
Where do all these guys come from?
Unfortunately, backstory on the character is just about all we have on Sony's Kraven the Hunter movie. Not a lot is known about the upcoming film adaptation, except that the Equalizer 2 and Jack Reacher Never Go Back writer Richard Wenk was hired to write the script back in August 2018. A couple of months later, Wenk teased a very special appearance in the film, claiming in an interview with Discussing Film that Kraven will come face-to-face with Spider-Man himself. Sony isn't just planning on bringing the heavy hitters to their Spider-Verse though. They've also got plans for some of Marvel's more obscure Spider-Man characters. Cindy Moon has actually appeared briefly in the MCU, but her comic alter ego Silk has yet to be explored on film. In the comics, a retcon explained that Cindy was bitten by the same radioactive spider as Peter and ended up with very similar powers. Little development has been reported on the project, aside from the major announcement in 2018 that longtime Sony producer and Spider Properties shepherd Amy Pascal was attached to produce. Pascal's 2019 departure from the company, however, has thrown the project into doubt. Then you've got Jackpot, a scientist, mom, and all-around super-strong crime-fighting boss. The details behind the purported Jackpot movie are pretty mysterious, with Sony still in the process of finding a screenwriter to take on. So it's safe to assume it'll be a while before Jackpot hits theaters. Finally, there's a rumor swirling around that Spike Lee is in line to direct Sony's upcoming Nightwatch movie, with Luke Cage showrunner Cheo Hodari Coker said to be a top candidate for writing duties. But that's all about anyone knows about that one too. Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse is a truly special movie. It's won an Oscar for Best Animated Feature, outranked every other Spider-Man movie on Rotten Tomatoes, and earned nearly $200 million at the domestic box office. The world clearly wants more trips through time and space with Miles Morales and his friends, and luckily a sequel is indeed in the works. Sony announced big plans for the animated sector of its Marvel slate in November 2018, before Into the Spider-Verse had even hit theaters. Avatar: The Last Airbender veteran Joaquim Dos Santos has signed on to direct the film, with Wonder Woman 1984 and Zombieland 2 writer David Callahan handling the script.
That's all, folks. Is he allowed to say that? Legally?
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was particularly noteworthy for spotlighting a biracial teen superhero in Miles Morales, alongside a standout female lead in Gwen Stacy. And now the latter is set to get her own animated spin-off. Before Into the Spider-Verse hit theaters, Sony announced that it started work on a film about 3 generations of Spider-Women. Spider-Gwen will return from the first movie, assisted in her adventures by another Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew, and Silk. Sony has hired Beck Smith to pen the screenplay, and DC animation veteran Lauren Montgomery to direct, but more details have yet to be confirmed. Check out one of our newest videos right here, plus even more Looper videos about your favorite movies are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.